A young man sat on another stool by the bar a few meters away from him. He was holding a large beer glass and taking a drink from it. Behind him, three women sat on a round table by the wall chatting. They were speaking French, so Davy was struggling to understand what they were saying. One caught his eye, and he smiled his best Irish smile back to her. People had often said that it was one of his best features. He had a boyish smile that would melt the heart of any fair maiden, or so he thought. The girl smiled and then turned away back to her friends. Davy had always attracted the attention of women. Even though he was aging now, he was still considered to be reasonably good looking, although he couldn't see it himself. People had commented on his easy smile and his blue eyes. Personally, he'd always thought that they were making a joke. He'd never once seen himself as being good looking, but then, perhaps now, in a new city, he could make use of it. His Irish charm and his good looks could be put to better good use here. Hopefully, he wouldn't be here in this new city alone for much longer. Perhaps he could attract a partner, someone to share his time with, someone he could take home, someone his mother would approve of. He stopped himself fantasizing for a moment. He felt a tinge of guilt. He wasn't sure if he could just allow himself to be free. His upbringing had made him feel uncomfortable about intimate contact with women. He wasn't sure that he could feel comfortable enough with a woman just like that. Not like other men did. Not like his friends, always boasting about who they'd been with, who they met. Just find someone and then do it. Like that. Just do it. There and then. For a moment he felt anxious. What did women expect here in Brussels? He thought to himself. Davy suddenly noticed his reflection in one of the large mirrors hanging on the wall behind the bar. He had short cropped hair that had slightly gelled, so it was a bit spiky. A round face with blue eyes, a good body, or so he thought. He liked to keep himself fit, which was mainly the result of his regular Saturday afternoon football match. He occasionally compared himself in the showers after the game with his fellow team players. Many of them were starting to show the middle-aged spread, their muscular stomachs now turning to fat and beginning to spread out. Davy had managed to keep his stomach muscles reasonably intact. He had good legs, running legs. They were one of his best features. Also, he had a reasonably slim waist that he knew was going to eventually lose. He had a nice arse, as someone once said. All this he was beginning to lose, but not today, though. Not today. Davy turned his thoughts back to the matter in hand, drinking his beer and looking forward to the weekend. Brussels was a prominently French-speaking city, although he soon discovered that there were a wide range of languages being spoken here by the people around him. In this city, people came not only from Europe, but from a wide range of other countries. Everyone was here to take advantage in some way of the European Union and the variety of institutions that made their home here in the centre of Brussels. For him, he had secured a permanent position at the European Commission, mainly through his contacts with the Irish government in Dublin. He had found the environment strange at first, but had quickly got used to the atmosphere in the office. He was Irish, and the one thing that the Irish were good at was talking and making friends. He was sure that his easy Celtic charm would win his way into the heart of anyone he came into contact with. It's only a matter of time, he thought to himself as he sat by the bar. Even though he'd just passed the 40-year-old mark, he still had his usual charm and a reasonably good body. Perhaps he wasn't the most good-looking of people, but he knew that his personality and easygoing Irish nature would win over anyone he had set his heart on. After all, there was no way back home. There was no one back home in Dublin to miss him. The variety of affairs that he had with women over the years had not really been a great success. That was an understatement. He was not good at relationships, he thought to himself, looking around, thinking, what am I going to do? To Davy, women were something of a mystery. He was a man's man. He loved football and drinking with his friends. Together with his friends, they had shared many happy hours together. To him, women were a distraction from what he loved the best. Men, his friends, the male companions, they were easier to get along with. They were straightforward, honest, and reliable. Most of his friends were all male. Some were married, some were single like himself. He had never felt uneasy in their company. He enjoyed the banter and the conversation that was usually about football and little else. He had had offers from some of the girls that he had known, but he had always preferred to stay in his comfort zone. He'd been engaged once to a beautiful Irish girl that he had met at a football match. It had lasted a few months, but for some reason she had become bored and gone back to her previous boyfriend. He had blamed his mother for the breakup. She had always been there criticizing him and asking when she would have grandchildren. His male friends were easy, and that's what he liked, an easy life. Women were a different matter. They were complicated, sometimes demanding, and more often than not, they wanted to take him away from his friends and the lifestyle he enjoyed. When they began to realize that they couldn't do that, then their interest began to wane. He was not interested in going shopping at every chance they got. He was not interested in wasting an evening sitting on the sofa and watching a George Clooney movie. He was not interested in all those talks that women wanted to have at any inappropriate moments. "What are you thinking about, Davy?" his fiancée had asked. "Football, and if we win the next game," was his usual reply, trying to ignore the question. More often than not, he wasn't so sure that he was interested in sex with them. To him, it just seemed like hard work. His latest girlfriend enticing him into the bedroom, only to take off her clothes, lay naked on the floor, and then expect him to do all the work. Sometimes he just wished that he could meet someone who chatted him up for a change, made him feel good, and then allowed him to lay on the bed while they aroused him. Oh, that would be nice, he thought to himself. Perhaps somewhere in this city there was a kind and caring person who liked him for who he was, instead of him making all the effort and in the end making him feel empty and used. He would just like someone to want him. That was all. That was all he wanted. Still, here he was in a new city full of people. He was here for the long term and he was determined to make use of the experience. After all, no one knew him here. No one had any preconceived ideas of who he was. He was free to reinvent himself in his own image, the way he wanted to live. Moreover, his mother wasn't here, or the local Catholic priest to make him feel guilty about unclean thoughts. Here he could have as many thoughts as he wanted to, unclean or not, and there was no one around to stop him. He was free at last. It was a strange feeling to be free. He felt as though he had been caged bird for most of his life, doing what other people wanted him to do, what they wanted him to be. Not now, though. No longer. There was no one looking over his shoulder. Davy took a drink from the beer glass that was now in front of him. Yes, he thought, I'll reinvent myself. I'll become the person who I really am. Not the person people think I am. I'll be free at last.